How do you feel about the criminal justice system as a whole? Do you think it's fair?
As a whole, yeah. Because you get the majority of the criminals off the street.
Do you think police treat you fair?
Not as a whole.
Do you think police treat you differently because of your race?
Not just race, money.
So you think money is the biggest attribute for police interactions?
Now it's becoming more so that.
It was a little bit of both. At first, the officer was a little bit aggressive, but then later on, it was a lot more calm.
I was driving without my headlights one night, so I did get stopped. But he was so nice, and he did not discriminate. He gave me a warning, so
that's good.
He was super nice.
I've had one encounter, and it was kind of the opposite. But the weird thing was, I didn't think much of it until like recently, now that y'all brought up the question about discrimination. And I think it was a little bit more, he was being just like disrespectful towards me, and he was of my race, and that was the weirdest thing ever. I guess like the people of your race are kind of hard to each other, I don't know why.
That's one thing we learned is that
but yeah, we were coming back from, I think we had a family vacation in San Antonio. My mom thought it'd be cool to go to Mexico for the day. And so we went, and we were on the way back, and it was a little bit past the checkpoint, and we got pulled over for speeding. And so it was me, my mom, and my sister. And the guy was just so disrespectful. He was like, "Why are y'all speeding? Or where y'all coming from?" And we're like, there were like, regular questions that they asked, but then it got really heated really quickly, to the point where I was in handcuffs and in the back of the squad car for no exact reason besides, we told them that we were vacationing in San Antonio, and we just came to Mexico for a little bit, and we were just driving back, and we apologized for speeding, and we thought it was just going to be a regular thing. Like, then he started asking us how do we pay for the vehicle, all these other questions, we were answering the questions, and all of a sudden he's like, "What about that CD right there?" And I was like, it's just a CD, and it was SPM. It was just a cover though. It was just a cover, like there was no CD in it or anything. And I thought it was like over the top. My mom was just like crying her eyes out because she had no idea what was going on. But some of the questions were like, "What drugs do you have in this vehicle? What's the reason why?" And I was just like, "There's no drugs. It's like we're just coming home," and it was just ridiculous, and I feel like that was the only point where I've ever experienced it. I just think it's weird, I don't know, that, if they're here, maybe to us it might seem a little hard, like, why is this guy questioning us this way or stuff like that, but I feel like it's just there to protect everyone else, What if I was someone that did have drugs or something, But I just felt that, it was being a little much, after we were truthfully answering the question, it was just a little too much all at one point, I've never been in handcuffs besides that.
So besides one speeding ticket, most of my, encounters with police officers have been really, really good. When I got pulled over for speeding, it was just like, why were you speeding? Where are you coming from? I was coming from college, going back home for the weekend this was like the weekend of spring break, and I was just in a rush to get home, and I was speeding, and so yeah, he just asked me questions, and then he called my parents to make sure I was telling the truth, just to confirm, because I didn't have an ID on me, but he just did procedure as he should have, and I told him the truth, and it ended well. I ended up going back home, and I didn't speed after that.
That's a lie.
Oh, that's for that one day.
For that one day.
And then I guess the other occasions that I've had to talk to police officers, it's always been to help someone. There was an accident, and I called the police officer, and I got them to the scene. But it was just like, they asked me questions while I was on the phone. When they got there, they asked who I was and what had happened, what I had seen. and it was just, I guess, regular procedure, answering questions and, helping them out. But for the most part, it's been good.
Yeah, I've definitely had a couple interactions with the police. It kind of went 50-50. Some of the interactions were positive, some of them were negative. I would have to say the ones that were negative, they were definitely because of stereotyping. I had one situation when I was in high school, and there was an individual who was a police officer who kind of talked to me as if I was a second-class citizen, and he was kind of trying to figure out what was going on with a party situation. Like me and a couple friends, we were just riding the car, and I guess just because like we were driving while being black, he decided to stop us because it wasn't because of the tail light, it wasn't because a seatbelt or anything else. He just wanted to stop us because he wanted to find out about this party that he said about that we had no idea about, and it was just one of those situations where I had never been arrested in my life, and there wasn't a reason for me to be pulled over, so I was kind of like, why was I even pulled over? Now, on the other hand, I have met officers who have really been really nice and polite when they pulled me over, and have actually let me out of speeding tickets and everything. So it's really been a 50-50 type of thing.
I've had both positive and negative. My parents are cops, and I had a negative experience with a police officer because I was riding with some people I was riding with a friend of a friend, and like my friend was in the car, and like there was stuff in the car that shouldn't have been there, but I didn't know it.
Yes, I have. It's so funny that you just asked that. Because I was just watching a cop walk by, and I was thinking, does he like his job or anything like that? No, I think it was, actually it was positive. I would say positive.
Negative. Negative, yeah. I don't know, I know it was because there were a lot of kids, and I'm pretty sure it was after 12 o'clock, and this was when we were breaking curfew, so.
Only once, and that was for speeding. And it was pretty good, it didn't go bad, so I think it was pretty positive.
I think my race did when I went to Laredo and we were at the checkpoint, because it was just clearly, I was in the front seat one time and they asked me where we were going and why we were there, and then the second time I was in the back and full of white people and I was the only non-white person and they did not ask any questions, so I do think my race had something to do. And the other time I was stopped, I don't think so. I think he was just, like they said, doing procedure and asking me where I was going, but he was really nice to me.
For the most part, I don't think socioeconomics or race has played part in any of my encounters with police or the judicial system for that case. So.
I think it was only maybe the social class is what kind of affected us a little bit. I don't know. I guess he thought that we were supposed to be below the class that we were we are, and so I guess that's why he questioned us so much and did other stuff. But other than that, I've never had any bad experience,
Yes, it did.
In a negative or positive way?
I guess a little bit on the negative.
Because of your race or your economic status?
Probably because of the race. Well, I think since I live in kind of one of the poor areas, definitely the officer that stopped me felt that I was a potential criminal, but once I complied with everything, he went up on his business.
I did not. I didn't think it was effective whatsoever. Maybe it was another Hispanic cop, so I didn't.
Both times I got pulled over, we were both Hispanic cops as well, so.
I feel like we judge without knowing it, and that's why a lot of times, when I think about if I ended up on a jury, I wouldn't trust myself to make a decision, because I know that I judge even though I try not to. Sometimes you try to make it conscious, but there's always that subconscious part that gets in the way of, just paying attention to the facts that you know, and you add on to it.
I mean, I really haven't experienced that much, like, haven't really been a part of the criminal justice system, but I mean, I feel that nowadays it doesn't as much like it used to before, but I still feel like people individually, maybe some of them still have some thoughts of racism, and so that's how it could play a part in the criminal justice system, but I think it would be on an individual basis, not just a like all around kind of basis.
Ideally, it's like you don't want the judicial system or the system to be prejudiced, but I guess during the line of work that you're doing it for however long you do it, you start to notice patterns, and so you default to those patterns, and you start to assume, well, this person came from this background, and so they must have, these things going on in their life, and that's why they're committing these crimes. And so, ideally, it's not meant to, but because the people that work for years, they notice the patterns, and so they start to default because it's worked in the past.
Like you said they assume. So that's what I'm gonna piggyback off of that. Like, I assume that whatever person is supposed to like protect the town or like the policeman, I'm assuming that they're gonna protect me no matter what it takes. So if it means that they're gonna be, I guess, a little bit prejudiced, that's just based on their knowledge and like of the area that they're serving. So if they're gonna be prejudiced, it's gonna be to a certain degree just to like protect the citizens of that town or that city. They know it better than I would know it, and they know if someone's walking this street corner at this time of day, or night, then either they're up to no good or there might be, but just to be on the safe side, I feel like go ahead and question the person or go ahead and do something about it instead of, not doing anything about it, and it could be something like worse.
Definitely. They thought I had marijuana on me and I didn't.
Because of your economic status or your race?
Because of my race.
I think it's a pretty big part because of the fact that a lot of the officers don't really know how to interact very well with the community, and also the community has a really bad image of the police, so it's kind of like a vicious circle.
In the system, I believe in the system it actually plays a big role. For some fact that I took a couple criminal justice classes, and from what I learned, just being an African American male, you're automatically labeled as a suspect, and I don't feel like that is particularly right. And with that being in the criminal justice system, we're just actually in the actual system, and you being able to be labeled that way because of your race or your race and ethnicity, I kind of feel like that's definitely appalling. And then the fact that the prisons are definitely overpopulated with African American males, it kind of really leads me to believe that the criminal justice system is really, really racially motivated. So.
I guess it depends on, the person who's getting, harassed and whoever's harassing the person.
Or where you get harassed, where you get cops. I think more of an urban area, more diverse, maybe a rural area. Get a little more minority-wise, get discouraged, I guess.
I think it's relative to area. It's like, it depends on, like, if you're in like a small town in like some country place in Texas, like, I'm pretty sure like race probably doesn't matter a lot more and you'll probably get treated differently. But like, I've only been interacted with the cops one time, and like the time I was treated fairly.
About 50-50, I think. So 50% being actually committing a crime, 50% being prejudice, things like that.
I guess it feels good to add on to see the differences that you have from someone else, and then saying that the difference is that you're better. You see the difference, So clearly you guys aren't equal, and then it's easy to just say, well, my difference is that I'm superior and that other person's, you know, not as good as I am.
I mean, I just think people have either been taught that from their, like, you know, grandparents or whatever, their parents. I think that could be one thing. The media has a lot to do with it. It has a lot of stereotypes in the media. I don't know, it could just come from so many places. It could be just one person's, like, they just don't like this certain race, or they don't like, you know, these certain people. So I think it is like a broad question, a broad answer, but I think it just, I don't know, for me it would be the media.
I mean, it has to do with the fact that a certain race was in power for the longest time in history, and we're in a period where, yeah, it's been hundreds of years, but we're still, you know, we're still in that period in a way, so we're still getting out of that, but, you know, even though the numbers have decreased of, you know, racism cases or things like that, there's still people who have that mindset that transfers down within generations.
I think I'm going to piggyback back off on the lawyer here and say, you know, it might have been instilled in some person, but it's up to that person, you know, to keep discriminating. You know, if they don't broaden their horizons and, you know, gain more knowledge on whether there's, like, they have this mindset of this one straightforward thing, thinking about one race or one gender or one person, you know, unless they broaden their horizon and think something differently, then they're never gonna get out of that, and that's why it still exists. Just people just don't feel like change. You know, sometimes they feel change is not good.
I think discrimination happens because, let's just say in a small community everybody's the same, and then someone else comes in and they're different. A lot of it has to do with how you're raised. Also, I guess it's a natural default of humanity. If you don't assimilate with someone else, then you assume that they're different and they don't like you, or you feel intimidated, and so naturally your response is to show that you're more aggressive than they are, and so to show, or to not be taken for, I guess, to not be there you go. So I guess you want to show you're stronger so that you're not dominated, and vice versa.
Because everything's based on color, and everybody just goes off that, and it's been like that for ages, so nobody really wants to do anything about it.
Well, I believe there's discrimination because of a couple factors. One, people are being stereotyped, and that kind of leads to these negative connotations and social constructs that are, you know, being placed on different race and genders. But I do say another issue is the fact that some people actually play into the stereotypes, which allow for people to view that negative stereotype, and as a result, people believe that's really how an entire race or a gender really acts with a particular situation as a whole. So it basically turns to a generalization of what an individual is generalizing an entire race or gender according to one person's actions. And I feel like those two components are really like the main reason why there's discrimination. But the third reason I would have to say is just some people were raised in an environment where they didn't see a diverse group of people, or they didn't have an opportunity to interact with a variety of different individuals. And it could be something as simple as the things that they were taught as a person, and they have yet to break those ideas and identities. Well, not identities, but break those ideas that they were given, you know, from an early age. You know, so I think that's why discrimination still plays a role.
I mean, because it's statistics, basically. Like, statistics show that African Americans have a higher criminal rate than, you know, any other besides probably the Hispanics. But when it's like that, I hate to say they do profile you and say, okay, well, there's this black girl in this really nice neighborhood driving this nice car. Let me, you know, find something wrong.
I don't think being rich is as much, what's important as it is, like, knowing the right people, which does, definitely have to do with your race and then, your social class. So I guess that does play into it, but not exactly the money part.
I think to some degree, just because you're able to get better resources, such as a better lawyer or better something else, like you're able to reach other resources a lower class person wouldn't be able to. Where if you were in lower class, you'd have to be someone that's appointed towards you, not towards you. Like if you're a higher class, you're able to research and get the best lawyer, for your case. If I was in OJ's seat, I would definitely, be able to, I want the best lawyer out there. I'm not gonna get one that's appointed to me because I feel like I would have a better chance at whatever I've done to get out of it. So I guess to some degree, yeah. If you do have more money, then you are able to get better resources. But if you've done the crime, I doubt that you're gonna get out of it.
Me too. I think to some degree also, like if you're famous, like, I don't know, a lot of famous people get away with a lot of things. But I mean, you also see some famous people that have gone to jail, but of course they just stay there for like a few days. So I think it wouldn't like solve like 100%, but I think most of your problems would if you had those connections and you were famous and rich and you had the money. I think so.
I agree. To a certain degree, you are, like you said, you have more resources, so you're able to get the best lawyer out there if you have the resources to pay for it. But also, I mean, ideally you would hope that that wouldn't be the case, just because you want the jury and the judge to be fair. I mean, when it comes down to the verdict, like, it just matters, the facts matters. And the judge or the attorney has a lot to do how he presents the facts. So, to a degree, yes.
Okay.
It affects some of them, but not all of them. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, you're still gonna have to deal with certain factors, being, an African American male or being a minority in general. I would have to say it will fix some though, but not all.
I think it impacts every aspect of our society. It's how we choose who we're going to socialize with, and I mean, even the people that we, like in the business world, like the ones that we feel like they're worth pursuing and, building a network with, and then the other people, like, we can just judge them off of, what we see from the outside.
That's a hard one.
I think so. Like, I think it gets to, like, maybe some criminals' minds, and then they think that, or not even criminals, don't have to be criminals, just like people in general, If people in general, it can be even like associated to students, Like, as soon as they fail a test, like, oh, I'm not good at this anymore, so why should I even try? So that you can put that towards, society, people, they don't do so well in society, maybe like they I guess, they steal a couple times, maybe it was out of need, or maybe we don't really know the full story. But as soon as you put that label on them as a criminal, they feel like nothing else. They feel like they're always going to be a criminal, and they should always be a criminal. But I feel like, as a society, we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't put labels on people. Maybe we shouldn't judge a book by its cover, And that's just my view on it, though.
I think that goes a lot too with like whenever, I think it's called like medicalization or something of I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's like when people put like a medical problem on something like that's behavioral or something. Like, for example, like if there's two kids and one is like, both of them are really, really active, and one mom says, oh, he's just like that, he just has a lot of energy, and then the other mom takes him to the doctor and he gets labeled ADHD. Like, they're being labeled like, something's wrong with you, you need medicine, And so they grow up with this like, oh, I'm this, and I'm already labeled as this, and I can't do this because I'm too hyper, or I need to take these pills. Whereas the other kid, he was just really active and he grew up normally, and maybe he still has a lot of energy, but he was never labeled as that. So I think that could really affect someone in the sense of like, oh, this is my label, I have to stick to it, or I have to, like, this is what I am now and I can't do anything to change it, whereas you can, like, nobody is in charge of you. Once you get older, you can make your own choices, and I don't know, you can work your mind. Your mind is awesome. You can tell yourself like, no, I don't have this, like, obviously, yeah, some medical stuff, but like something like that, I think, is kind of like overdone, especially with kids. I don't think they should do that with kids.
Then, like, what if the kid really did have a medical issue and this was never
Well,
checked
medical
out?
issue, yeah,
And
but just like stuff like stuff like that. Medical issue, yeah, of course.
I don't know. I guess I have a different perspective. But some people, well, like, I guess and I'm not an expert at this, but some people or some young people start out with doing like, what do they call it? Shoplifting. And they just do it for the thrill of it. Like they don't want to get caught, but they want to get as close to getting caught. And it's just the rush of like doing something bad without getting caught. And then up to the point that you get caught, and then it's like, okay, so I got caught now. Now I have to find my adrenaline rush in something else. And so even though they get labeled at something, sometimes it's not necessarily about a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's more of like the rush of doing something bad, trying to get caught without getting caught. So.
I think on society, it can have a very big impact. But then again, I am also a firm believer that you are able to change your situation if you really would like to do so. I know there are a lot of factors that come into play whenever you're dealing with those situations, but I think ultimately it's up to the individual to figure out how to get out of the situation that they're in. It's not possible for everyone, but I do believe that if you want it bad enough, you'll figure out a way to get out of that particular label.
I think your class has more say over, the life chances that you have. So for me, I'm mixed and I'm middle class. So I kind of get like the best of both of those, I'm kind of like, happy, like neutral. So I feel like the one that's made the bigger difference for me would be the fact that I'm in middle class and not that I'm a minority. Like I really don't think that had anything to do with it, It's, the class has more say over what kind of opportunities you're going to be exposed to. And then your race has more say over the ones that people are willing to give to you.
I think depending on where you're at, like definitely, if you're in a city or a town where you're not the minority, then you don't feel that the issue. But I guess you would feel an issue towards your social class or your wealth, if you didn't have much money in that area. But it can go either way, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. You can be a rich person and be like, you know what, I'm going to do something bad. Anyways, I have money, so I can just get out of it. And someone else who, does it to live, I guess they steal bread or whatever. I mean, that's just a cliche thing, but, they steal bread so that they can survive. Because they're at that point in their socioeconomics where they can't pay their bills, they can't support themselves, and so they have to, in some way, find a way to survive. I guess that's just my idea on it. And it's a combination of both socioeconomics and race, I think.
I think it depends where you're at, like Juan said, because I think it's what is most rare. For example, if you're in a rich community and everyone has like these really nice cars, and you're driving and you have like a, you know, old car, beat up car, you know, like you stand out, so you're kind of more of a target, I guess. Like, I mean, we want to think that, you know, our policemen, you know, that they don't discriminate, but everyone's human, like Jose said earlier, and I think each of us have this like a little bit of like prejudice, you know, inside of us that we judge right away, even though we don't want to. I feel like we all do. And so I think what would just stand out more from that community would be pinpointed. Or whereas if you're in like an all-white community and you're a Mexican or a black person, like you would stand out, so they would be like, oh, what is this person, you know? Like, I think it just, you know, like maybe if you're in an all-black community and the police officer are black, the white people stand out. I don't know, like I think it's just like what is more rare stands out and is like pinpointed, I guess.
I guess that brings like, they're trying to figure out why, you know, like why is this person here or what's going on. If they're in an all, you know, black community and there's like white people there that want to know what's going on, why are they here, what's going on, like is it for, you know, the good of the community, or are these people just here to make trouble, you know? So anything can just go in any society, I guess. But that would be my take on that, you know.
Like I said, race is relative to where you are, and then economic class. I guess like you being well off can get you out of trouble, but being poor is like, yeah, you're not gonna be able to get out of anything.
I think both play a huge part, all equal.